Hi guys, welcome to the lesson number 5. So today we are gonna take a look at the selection mode. There are a few ways to select things on the viewport. The first one is by just clicking on the left button of your mouse. So if you click on the object, you're gonna see that this highlight appears around the object. The same for the camera. If I press the left button of the mouse, then I select the camera. Same for the light. So when you started Blender for the first time, it asked you about which button of your mouse would like to be the selection one. So if you chose the left one, probably you're using the left one to select things. But if you chose the right one, you have to use the right button to select things. If you want to invert it, you need to go just to the edit and preference, then go to the key map, and here we have select with mouse button. So as you can see, mine is set left. Probably if you set your right, and you can change. It's just what you need to do is just click on the one you want. Okay, so I will keep mine left. Okay. The other way to select things is going to this menu, the select menu. Here you can select all, and the shortcut for that is A. Okay. So, and you can select none. So the shortcut for that is Alt A. So A to select all, Alt A to select none. Also, we have this invert. For example, if I select this guy over here, the cube, and let's say that I don't want to select this guy anymore. I want to select the camera and the light, but I don't want to select the cube. What you need to do is press Ctrl I. So now the camera and the light is selected and the cube is not. But you always can use the select menu over here. So if you press invert, now only the cube is selected. So that is another way to select things. If you go to this manipulator over here and hold your click over it, another menu pops up, and here you can select one of these options over here. So let's try the select box. If you click and drag your mouse, you're gonna see that this box comes along with your arrow. Okay, so let's say that I want to select this part. So I will only select what's inside the box. Okay, so same here. If I want to select the camera, click and drag it. Okay, so let me add some more objects. So let's say a cylinder, let's say a cone, and let's add maybe a torus. Yeah. Okay, so again, if you click and drag, you can see that I'm selecting everything inside the box. Okay. Okay, so let's try another selection tool. Let me try the select circle. Here you can see that a circle comes along with the arrow of your mouse. So let's say if you click and drag, for example here, nothing happens. But if you hold your click and path through this object, you're gonna see that you can select things. It's quite like a painting on the viewport. Okay, so also you can press C in your keyboard and if you scroll down or scroll up the middle of your mouse, you can adjust the size of this circle. Okay, so now it's a little bit easier to select things. Okay, also we have the select lasso. This one is kind of drawing on the viewport. If you click and drag it, you can kind of like draw on the viewport. And this is the one that sometimes is very helpful. So for example, I want to select just, I don't know, this part over here. Okay. Okay, there is another way to select things on the viewport. Let's say that you want to select the cube and the cylinder. If you click on the cube and press Shift, then click on the cylinder, for example, now you have both of them selected. And let's say that I want to select also the cone. So if you press Shift and click, you can select it. So you can, by just pressing Shift and clicking on objects, you can select almost everything. Okay. So notice that here I have orange highlight around my object. And if I click on the other object or holding Shift, now the orange of my object, this highlight goes to the other object. So it means that when we have this different highlight, this lighter highlight on the object, it means that this object is the active object. So it means that wherever we do on the properties, on the settings, it will be affected only this object. Okay. So it, for example, if I try to move these two objects here using the transform, I can't. Only the object that has the orange highlight selected will move. Okay, but if you want to if you select the two of them and you want to move the two of them, you can always go to the move manipulator over here and just click on the arrow and drag it. Okay, so you can move both of them. Okay, now that you know how to select things, let's try to manipulate the objects. Okay, so the first one is the move selection. Oops, I'm still with the selection in mind. Is the movement. Okay, so this guy over here, if you click on it and click on one of these objects, you're gonna see that these arrows come along. And it means that you can use these arrows to move your object. Okay, so for example, if I click on the X axis and drag it, I can move it on the X axis. So if you do it using this blue X that represent the Z axis and drag it, you can move it on the Z axis. Same for the green one. So that the Y axis, I can move in the Y direction. Okay. Also, we have the rotate. The rotate, it's quite the same, but you rotate the object. So for example, we have the green one that represents the Y axis. And if I just click and drag it, you can rotate it, okay, on the Y. So if you want to rotate on the X axis, just use the red arrow, and also the blue represent the Z. Okay, so you can always if you don't want to use the arrows, these lines, you can just click wherever you want inside the circle, and you can move in any direction. Okay, so also we have the scale. So the scale, let me use this one to show how it works. It's quite the same as we have in the movement, but here this one we can scale things. So for example, if I use the blue arrow over here and drag it, click and drag it, you can scale it on the Z axis. Okay, same for the X axis and same for the Y axis. Okay. Okay guys, another cool thing about these manipulators is that you can also scale or move your object using two axes. Okay, so what does it mean? It means that, for example, if you want to scale this object using the X and the Y, but not the Z, so you can use this box over here in the middle of these two arrows. So when I press it and drag it, you're gonna see that only the X and the Y axis is scaling the object. So it means that the Z is not being affected in this time. This time, okay. So same for, let's say, the X and the Z axis. Okay, so it happens the same for movement. So if let's say you want to move your object only on the X and the Y, if you press here, you're gonna see that you can only move it on the X and the Y axis. Same here, if I want to move on the X and Z axis, just click on this one, on this button over here, and now you're moving it on this axis. Okay. Also, we have this manipulator over here. The last one, it's the transform. So you have all these three ones in only one. Okay. So what does it mean? That it means that you can you don't need to change the manipulators. So you can have like all of them in one object. So here you can move your object by just clicking on these arrows over here. You can scale, clicking on these arrows inside the circle. So let's scale it on the X-axis, the Y-axis. And also you can rotate using these lines, these circle lines over here. Okay guys, so in most of the time, when you are using Blender, creating scenes, creating stuffs into it, it's a way easier to use shortcuts. So for example, for all these manipulators that we have just seen, you can use shortcuts for that. So for example, for the movement, if you press G, you can just move your object. So let's say that I want to move these torus over here on the Y-axis. So press G and press, for example, the Y letter on your keyboard. So now you're moving it on the Y direction. But if you want to move on the X-axis, you can press X on your keyboard. Same for the Z-axis. Press Z on your keyboard. Okay, so same for rotation. If you press R, you can rotate in any direction. But if you press Z, you can rotate it on the Z-axis. But if you press X, you can rotate on the X-axis. If you press Y, you can rotate on the Y-axis. Okay, same for scale. If you press S, you can scale in any direction. And if you press Z, you can scale on the Z-axis. Oops, I pressed X-axis actually, but now I'm in the right one. So Z, X, and Y. So it's a way better and a way faster to use shortcuts. Most of the time, we are going to use shortcuts for almost everything. Okay, you can do it for like almost all kind of objects inside Blender. So same for camera. Okay, G to move, R to rotate, but camera you can't scale. So you are scaling it, but when you go into it, for example, if you press 0 to go into the camera and press S inside the camera, you can notice that nothing happens. You can zoom or zoom in or zoom out the camera, okay? So if you want to zoom in and zoom out, you have to use other parameters that I will show you in other lessons, okay? So basically, we have actually another way to select things as well is using the outliner by just clicking on the object you want to select. For example, the cone or the cube or the cylinder, the light, the torus, and the camera. Okay, so if you name it properly, it will be easier for you to select things. Okay. So yeah, thank you guys for being watching this series. We still have a lot to learn. I'm very excited to get started on the modeling part. We still have another steps to go through, but soon we are going to have a lot of fun modeling things. Okay, so thank you very much and see you in the next video.